morning, you're listening to Regal Radio with Tom Lindsay. This morning is slightly different, as you're aware. Normally I'm just sort of playing sort of rock music through the decades. This morning though, I've got Cammy Forbes in. Now Cammy has been the sort of frontman, main singer-songwriter, guitarist, keyboard player for various bands from sort of mid-70s through to the late 80s. Bands are Underhand Jones, the Dolphins, the Shops, and the David Ford bands. So we'll be chatting to Cammy and we'll be having sort of lots of sort of music from him. So just a quick intro from Cammy if you want to say hi to the folks at Regal Radio.
Hi everybody at Regal Radio.
So I'm going to start off and I'm just going to play a quick song from Underhand Jones, probably in 1978-79, called She's a Deceiver.
See
That was Underhand Jones with She's a Deceiver from Jammy But Nice, an album way back from '78. Just tell me, Campbell, it's you were in a band called Reese's. I think there was just a cover sort of version band, and you just got bored with that. So how did that sort of end, and how did you get into Underhand Jones?
We used to play a place called the Doon Castle, and that's where we started off in Reese's. And what happened is all the bands were just playing the same songs. Other bands would say, "Oh, we do that song as well. We do this song." And I was with Billy Fairbairn that was in Reese's with us, and we decided that we'd had enough of this. We just wanted to do original material, and between myself and Billy, we formed Underhand Jones, and basically went from there. Just did original songs.
And they were a six-piece band at the time, you know.
Yeah.
And I seem to remember the first time I saw you in Amphora, it was punk bands that were playing, so you were up against that sort of thing as well, weren't you?
Well, that came around just at the wrong time for us, at about 77, 78, and punk had exploded, and you know, we were quite a sophisticated band playing melodic rock music, and we suffered terribly from it. Basically, yeah. But
good sounds, good music always comes through, you know, so that's why we're here today.
Well, it was that band had 2 guitars, keyboards, 3-part harmonies, acoustic guitars, you know, it explored everything. It wasn't pigeonholed in any way, it just did what it felt like. And I look back in these days, and that was very free. There was no record company influences, we just did what we felt we wanted to do.
That's superb.
And that's a punk ethic in its own.
It is. And you had the support of Radio Clyde as well, through Johnny Mac.
Johnny McCalman happened to walk into the Doon Castle when we'd gone back as Underhand Jones, and was knocked off his feet about, you know, what's this band doing? They're doing original songs. And from day one until this day, he still loves the music to this day. And he took us under his wing, got us into recording studios, you know, and helped us through, or we probably just disintegrated after the first year.
I know. It's and even getting back into sort of, was it Sava and things like that you recorded, and you know.
Well, we originally recorded all the sort of stuff, early stuff, in She's a Deceiver was recorded in Radio Clyde studios.
Right.
Radio Clyde, yeah. Aye.
So how do you think it would have been then? You know, just thinking back, having to go into recording studios, sort of rehearse, compared to what you got now, where you can actually go and just sort of buy a 24 track for 600 quid or something like that. It's.
Yeah, well, we had to play everything live then, you know. So I think in She's a Deceiver, the first take was piano, bass and drums. You get that wrong, you've got to do it again. But we got it right first time.
Oh,
and then
of course, yeah.
Then overdubs would be guitars, backing harmonies, stuff like that, and any other colours. But basically, most of the stuff that I recorded with the Dolphins, that was piano, bass and drums. Same with Underhand Jones, same with David Ford's band, piano, bass and drums. Or one guitar, bass and drums, and then take it from there.
Now, the first song that you actually sung in, I know you were singing, you were the front man in the Dolphins and the Shop, or David Ford's band. The things that you say, it was Billy Fairbairn that usually sort of sung in Underhand Jones.
That's correct.
I'm going to play a song, Things That You Say.
Yeah.
That was the first song that you actually
attempted.
I wouldn't say attempted. It's great, you know. I don't remember you actually singing it live though.
No, we never played it live.
Did you not?
No, we never played it live.
Right.
I don't know why it got recorded, but you know, it was a decent tune, you know. So, and I think what happened is Stevie Docherty had left the band at that point, so this track had no vocal. Right. And it was already recorded, so I just thought, well, I'll have a go.
So by default, you get in there.
Let's try it, you know.
You never look back.
No.
Here it is, a song called Things That You Say, first song that Cammy's ever sung in.
Blackbird outside of my window, it's been there for too many days. Like to wait and feeling in many ways. Missing the warmth of your kisses, missing the way we would play. Flew out of love in so many ways. You and I were lovers, and that time for a day would leave this place, travel miles away. With elementary songs of love, we're singing nights away. 'Cause 'cause I love you this way. I love you this way. There's a young girl outside of my window. She beckons me to come and play. Wears the days off by the fireside. Listen where you would lay. Fool around and love in so many ways. Because you and I were lovers, and that's time for a day. We leave this place, travel miles away. With complimentary lights of hope, wait to greet the day. Listen to things that you say, afraid me on this way. Now I see the light of day. More than the track, Mars in the ground. I wish I could die. Feel the sun, travel through the ground. Oh, it's gonna do the town. 'Cause I love you all around. I love you all around. There's no man outside of my window. Says you're just a stay. Rescue lives to come in so many ways. I'm dreaming the days of the morning, hoping for better to come. No more searching for love on the wrong one. Because you and I were lovers, and now time for a day. We leave this place, travel miles away. With effervescent songs of love, singing us the way. Things that you say, break me up this way. Now I see the light of day. More than a drop, and Mars in the ground. I wish I could die. Feeling the sound, travel through the ground. Oh, it's gonna pull me down. 'Cause I love you all around. I love you all around.
That was Underhand Jones and Things That You Say, and Campbell just reminiscing there about sort of his first vocal and how he actually got by that and all the memories that come from it. So again, Cammy, it's the band sort of, although they had great success, I mean, you played the Lockholm Festival as well, didn't you? That's
1979 it was, yeah.
Is that as late as that? Aye. It's, were you in the first day,
Second day? The first day was a punk day, if I remember.
Was it?
The second day was Average White Band. We'll see, Boomtown Rats were on the second day. Jimmy Bain's Wild Horses, I think they were on. Average White Band. Violinski. They were on. I still got a poster. I still got the poster.
So what sort of set did you get? Did you get half an hour or
Well,
something like that?
no, we got longer because we'd started the set and then somebody delayed. I think Violinski were on meant to be on after us, and they were held up. So we got to play about another half hour. So we got an hour set out of it, and a lot of people thought it was a fix. You know, why did this band? We were just filling in time because it would have been dead.
Super.
We just kept going, and we were that kind of band to say, right, just keep playing. So I was just say, right, try this, and this. We just
So was that Underhand's Mark 1? Mark 2?
Mark 2, yeah.
Right,
Stevie
so...
Doc, yeah.
Because the split happened, you know, and what caused the split? Was it just a sort of natural sort of music thing or whatever?
Just some people... Billy Fairbairn, an absolute amazing talented chap, had a baby very early. And I think that was him. He was quite happy to do that. And he couldn't get the
That's
time.
That's America, isn't it? Him having a baby.
I know. So he had his child, and he was still trying to go out and gig at night, and it just wasn't for him. He just wasn't meant to be in a band. But as I say, I'd probably say the most talented guy I worked with, just for being off the wall lyrically, just fantastic guy. I haven't seen him for 35 years.
I'm sure once he hears this show, you'll get back in touch with you.
You better not
your
pest
phone will
me.
be ringing tonight. Just leave your number and we'll sort of pass it on to him or something like that. But I remember when sort of Mark 1 and Mark 2 split, and then the big sort of build-up came back to sort of Saints and Sinners. You know, there's banners everywhere and leaflets everywhere. You know, it was a big publicity gig. You know?
Yes, it had to be, because we thought, well, let's go back with a bang and see what happens. And it worked. It was sold out, and the band started on a high. Yeah, you know. And that band only lasted about 3 months. Seriously, that band only lasted 3 months.
You're joking?
No, I think it split up in April '79.
And that's when you wrote lots of great songs.
A lot of great songs,
Running, it's Best Years. Was that done around about then, or was that
that was written? That was written about 1976, believe it or not. Yeah. Seriously, Best Years. Is a good story about that song. I was a really good footballer when I was younger. Still playing now, but not as good. And I used to go up the park and play with the older guys. And this was in the mid-70s, early 70s. And there was just jumpers for goalposts and stuff like that. And during the game, one of the older guys picked me up and said, look, you move out of the way, and stuck me up a tree. And at that point, there'd been an organised gang fight, and they all took out all sorts of weapons from their jackets and pockets. And I sat and watched this, and it stuck in my mind that these people... 1 minute entertaining, playing, and then a gang came over the hill, and I just stuck in the thought, why throw the best years of youth away by doing something like that? And that stuck in from an early age, and that's where that song came from.
That's the glorious sunny side, south side of Glasband.
Queen's Park.
Don't visit there, folks. You know, they've got a great bandstand. But
just all got burnt down in the 90s.
Oh, did it?
I think they rebuilt it, or they bring it.
With the same gang, no doubt.
This is ours.
So. You say sort of Mark 2 Underhand Jones just lasted for 3 months.
Yes.
Then you went into a project with Billy Fairbairn again.
Yeah.
It's called The Shops.
The Shops. Stevie Docherty had wanted the band wasn't rocky enough for Stevie. He had a really singer that he was, and so me and Stevie Irvin, Bill McLeish, Billy Fairbairn, were just hanging around and had some songs, and they thought, let's try it. So they put into the studio the 2 songs, Can't Have Girls and what was the other one again? Everyone's Girl. Yeah. Chris was put money into it. They enjoyed the 2 songs, and then they decided to give us money for another 4 songs, which we did. We thought we were over the moon with what we did, and then he just left it.
Did you have that backing with Underhand Jones? Was Chris also in the background with that as well?
No, that was mainly ourselves and Johnny McCalman funded.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But, and after that band, I went on to form the Dolphins. Billy Fairbairn did nothing. Stevie Irvin joined Lloyd Cole and the Commotions. He played for them for a long time. Yeah. So that was it. But they were good songs. They were great ideas. Billy's lyrical ideas are fantastic, absolutely fantastic, off the wall.
Well, we're going to hear it, because we'll play Can't Have Girls, and you can maybe explain that. Once I played it,
right,
and
just listen to the lyrics.
Just let the audience, listen to the words, and they can sort of make up their own mind where the song's about.
A better fascination for young girls in the early teens. And out of institutions, but you always have the same old dream. And then, if you commit another crime, you'll have to change your mind. They'll make you a clockwork man. Sam, you can't have girls. No, you can't have girls. No, you can't have girls. You can't have girls. No, you can't have girls. No, you can't have girls. can't go on much longer, and you only got yourself to blame. I say, yeah, oh, 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 she's only just a kid. Oh, 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 do you regret the things you did? Oh, 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 now you're a clockwork man. Sing, can't have girls, you know you 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 can't have girls. Girls, you know you can't have girls, you know you can't have girls, you can't have girls, you know you can't have girls, you know you can't have girls, you can't have girls, you know you can't have girls, you know you can't have girls, you can't have girls, you know you can't have girls, you know you can't have girls, you can't have girls, you know you can't have girls, you know you can't have girls.
That was the Shops with Can't Have Girls. As I said, you know, I've listened to the lyrics, but, you know, Cammy's going to tell me what the song's about.
Well, it's actually about a serial sex offender, child sex offender. I mean, I don't know if you can get away with that these days, but back then it was about that. And Billy and I were very influenced in the 70s by Clockwork Orange. And the song, there's a line in the song saying Clockwork Man, so he gets the treatment of the guy in Clockwork Orange got to try and rid him of his fascination for young girls in their early teens, as the song says.
And how to put that into a pop song.
That's it, yeah. Nobody would know.
No.
You didn't know till I told you.
Exactly. I had a rough idea where it was going though. It's, so anyway, you said you had a sort of budget for 6 songs when you were
doing the Shops. Yeah. We did another 4, but the record company just didn't pick up on them after it.
Right.
And I thought they were stunning. There was a song called Vision On, and I need to try and get hold of one of the Billies, and see if they've got the tapes, because I lost mine. And we put a trombone solo on it, which was fantastic.
That's very,
none of us played the
very
trombone.
punk, eh?
No, but it wasn't a ska thing. It was just a trombone solo instead of a guitar solo, and it was fantastic. It was brilliant.
So who did you hire? Did you get
Just
somebody in?
somebody come play trombone.
So it wasn't through a Mooger end like that?
No,
You didn't sort of simulate it? No.
They weren't that sophisticated these days.
So after that was the Shops, I mean that must have been a short project as well. How long did that last?
Couple of months.
I take it you never played
a live gig.
Yeah. No. So it was just these 2 songs basically that's there, and the stuff that's lying in the background somewhere.
Yeah, which I'd love to get hold of.
Right. So moving on for that then, I remember sort of meeting Davy Edgar, because I went to school with Davy.
Yeah.
And we went to, he was playing in some sort of Thin Lizzy Status Quo covers band.
Yeah.
And we saw him in the Amphora, and then about 2 months later, myself and my mate Alan Barr, we went through a day trip to the Bungalow Bar, and who did we see then? It was the Dolphins.
Yeah.
You know, it was yourself, Davy Edgar, you know, and Brian Coyle. It was a great gig, and it was superb, and it's sort of led on for things. So how did that come about then? How did you form?
Davy knew us from the Rhesus days, but he was too young. Davy was only 17 when he joined the Dolphins. An exceptional drummer at that early age, and he couldn't even I remember he came along to see Underhand Jones, and we had to sneak him in the back door, and then he got thrown out, so he sat in the van, so I went out and bought him some chips so he could sit. So he kind of always wanted to be in the band, and as he said, I speak to him then, he said like his apprenticeship, he just wanted to learn how to do original music and do it to a reasonable standard. And to this day, Dave is a mega talented guy as well. Mega talented. Play drums, keyboards, sing a lot.
See, that's his drumming background. Boys Brigade boy.
That's
where he learned it, you know. That's how he did his paradiddles and things like that. So I'm going to play a song called Davy Jones, and there's a story behind that as well, isn't there?
But people know that Davy Jones' locker is actually the name for the bottom of the sea, right? And I had a mate at school who joined the Navy. Couldn't stand it, thought it'd be a great thing, great career move, and he ended up buying himself out and was absolutely miserable, and that's what that song's about.
Great song. Here it is, it's the Dolphins, Davy Jones.
It's a live version, I think, yeah.
Is it a live version?
With a waffle at the start, no doubt.
You just go, well, that was not, doesn't take a lot, it's very simple. Right. The good of the boy must do this, right? No. That's not bad, leave it louder. Whoa. You gotta go for a high one. Venom! No. It's not right. Yes, but this is David Jones.
was the Dolphins with a song called Davy Jones, recorded live in the Dial-In many years ago. That was the days when we had so many pubs to sort of go and sort of see so many bands. If you didn't like one band, you just walk up the
street. Yeah.
So what was your favourite venue?
Oh, definitely the Dial-In for me.
Was it?
Yeah, Dial-In, yeah. It was just such a, the audience just loved everything we did. It was a great place to bring in new songs. They always listened, they always accepted it. And it got to the stage at one point where people say, well, what are you going to do with old songs? So one day we went in and played 34 songs in one night.
I know, that was superb, I remember that.
Because people were going, what happened to that song? What happened to that song? Why did you replace that with that? I said, well, you've got to progress, you've got to move on. As a writer, you've got to keep writing. And if you're going to just play 15 songs a night, so one day we just thought, right, let's do it a lot.
So what's the worst venue?
I didn't like the Burnt House.
Did you not?
I didn't like it.
Too tight?
Oh, they paid you pennies. They paid you £15 and it was a cheque. And we would get back in the 80s.
It bounced.
Probably. And not only that, you were stuck in a wee corner. It was basically a kind of heavy rock venue anyway. And I think we got paid £100 in the Dial-In, and that could be like afternoon and night as well. So it was good to get money to do demos, go in the studio, and further your career that way. Whereas, I think that in the 80s the Burnt House was still living on its past reputation of the great bands that they had in the 70s and stuff like that.
Yeah, Maggie Bell, Alex Harvey and all
Alex
these
Harvey, which it had its time for that, but music had moved, and so we just, and it was only like 30 feet down the road. So.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you my worst gig
that
I've seen you.
Go for it, I'm going for this.
And it's not so much that the performance was bad, but I remember seeing you, and I think we went the Thursday to see you in the Dial-In, and then you announced you were playing the Olympia in East
Bride, yeah.
But you never told us it was a kids' disco or something like that.
That's right, Tiger Tim was there.
Me and Alan turned up, and then what? Pint of milk. That was it. Great gig, but
I do remember that. Yeah, I do. Right.
But you played. Who was the biggest band you supported?
Chris Rea, I guess.
Right.
Chris Rea, yeah.
Who was Flock of Seagulls? Did you do them as well? Didn't you?
No, we were under their management for a while. Flock of Seagulls management, about 83.
Right.
So it was them that got us a tour with Chris Rea. That was his Shamrock Diaries tour, about 83.
That's a biggie then, eh?
It was, and that was an eye-opener because we thought we were the best thing there until you see the professionals do it. And you think you're a decent songwriter till you hear him.
Don't put yourself down.
No, seriously. He just was... I mean, he wrote Fool If You Think It's Over and stuff like that. He's a great writer and a great blues guitar player, great voice, and a fantastic guy as well. Took us under his wing and, we'd been on tour with forever. Fantastic guy.
But you also did this sort of Kelvin Grove Park sort of situation. I mean, how did that come about? Because, that was about sort of 5 or 6 years, maybe it sort of ran. It's sort of doing that. Even, I think it culminated in you doing the sort of midnight show.
Yeah, well, the Kelvin Grove Festival ran for a good 12 years, maybe.
As much as that.
Yeah, in fact, here's another story that people will, that's not right. The original Kelvin Grove Festival, me and Billy Fairbairn and Johnny McCalman, who was Radio Clyde, who put the money behind the Kelvin Grove Festival, were sitting going, now, a lot of bands can play the Kelvin Grove Festival just on your own, you get council pays you money, etc. I said, why? But myself and Billy Fairbairn, why don't we get 4 bands to play it and have it, Radio Clyde put the money behind it? So it was me, Billy and Johnny McCalman's idea. It didn't just happen. And a lot of people say, oh, you're just making up. No, I swear, that's how it happened. And the first bands were Underhand Jones, Sneaky Pete, Charlie Brown, and is it PS or Beyond the Fringe?
Don't remember.
No.
I remember him as you were playing it. Did you not play it when he was very slick, or was that a new version of Slick? Maybe
I don't know, but that wasn't. I don't think he ever played the actual festival.
In fact, it wasn't Slick. It was Rich Kids, wasn't it?
He might have played it with them, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how that started. 1978. That was the first one, and I think he went on to about 92. I think the Alex Harvey band with Stevie Dock singing played it. So
amazing memories.
I know. But that is a fact.
But they were great crowds. I mean, 4,000 or something.
Oh, yeah.
And it was free as well.
And there was totally cosmopolitan music. Sometimes there was Chaser on, the Dolphins and the H2O on the same bill. Totally different music.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe the Chaser fans would throw bottles at the H2O, but that just, what can you do?
In fact, there was an always story that you came on stage and says hello, we or whatever.
I can't remember. I think that the actual story was Castle Donington that year. They were throwing bottles, and that's before they were glass. So poor Ian Donaldson was on the phone, they're throwing bottles at him, and I came on and I went, right, okay, if you're going to throw your bottles, throw them now so I can see them, not when I'm sitting at that piano. And if I find one, I'll throw it back, and there's 4,000 of you, I'm going to hit somebody. I can get out of the way of it if I see it coming, but if I throw that, it's going to hit somebody. And they didn't throw anything. But we knew the Chaser guys from playing out here in Bathgate.
Yeah.
We'd played, shared a couple of bills, and great guys. And I think they're still playing just now.
They've reformed, haven't they?
Yeah, I think I did the sound for them a couple of times. So. I like stuff like that.
I've got a feeling one of the brothers passed away or
He
something.
did, I think it was a motorcycle accident, a shame. A fantastic band.
Anyway, the next song I'm going to play is Best Years in My Youth. And you touched on the sort of story of that, how it came about. You know, it's you being a young guy sort of playing football in Queen's Park, you know, and get put up a tree just out the way of a gang fight.
That's correct,
you know? But it's a cracking song. I've got to say it's one of my favourites for the Dolphins. Called Best Years in My Youth. Best Years of My Youth, again recorded live at the Dial-In many years ago. We've been talking a wee bit to Cammy about a few things, and I'm just going to go and talk about guitars now, because I've never seen you play Gibsons. You know, it always seems to be sort of Tellys or Strats or something. That's
first guitar I ever bought was an Edition from Woolworths with a wee small Edition amp, and the action was so bad you could probably put your fingers right under the strings. Nearly put me off playing guitar for years. And then I bought a Heyman 3030. Then after that, I used that with Reese's, and then when Underhand Jones started, I bought it was a Guild double cutaway. It looked like a Brian May type
an
guitar.
SG type,
SG, which had a master volume. I had the two volumes and the tone, and then a master volume, which is, why is my guitar not working? No, your master volume's down. Then after that, went to Fender Strat and a Telly at the same time, and a Gretsch 25th anniversary semi-acoustic, which I couldn't use live. It just kept feeding back. As you say, never a Les Paul. Les Paul was a rockier sound. Les Paul for me was Thin Lizzy. That's what a Les Paul sounded like. And we weren't making that kind of noise. Music had gone a bit more jangly.
So was your sound the sort of compromise to Brian, and Brian?
Yeah, Brian had a Les
Paul.
Paul. Brian had an SG, a Gibson SG, and Underhand Jones. He had an SG. Changed it to a really nice red top Les Paul. And it was to complement that. He had the thicker sound, and mine was the sparkly jangly, I think. So, yeah.
But it was always a good sound, you know,
yeah.
And especially the Gretsch. And I'm sure you played that live as well. You know, I'm sure you did that when you were going through the sort of ska type sort of stuff.
We did. It was a nice thick chunk, you know, for that kind of thing. But as I say, if you turned, I think there were a couple of solos on it. As soon as I turned it up being a hollow bodied, it was about 6 inches thick, and there was a Fender Twin I was using. It just to go feed off. And Ski, my sound engineer, was like, "Get rid of that guitar, get away," and it went.
So where you got now? You still got the Strats?
I still got my Strat. That's it. It was originally an Antigua Strat, 1976, 77 maybe. But through, as you say, throwing it about in a tantrum now and again, to a light stand falling on it, I took it to a guy called Jimmy Moon, south side of Glasgow, took it back to its natural finish, and I put 3 DiMaggio pickups in it. That's before you had pedals, so you had to overdrive your amp. The amp didn't have a preamp in it, so the DiMaggio pickups would overdrive it, and you did all your sounds clean, dirty, lead solos all from the volume control. That's how you customise your guitar these days. Now you just buy a pedal. Or the worst thing I've seen as a sound engineer, somebody coming in and saying, I don't have a guitar amp, I've got an iPod, an iPad for my guitar sounds. And rubbish, absolutely terrible. Yeah. It was terrible.
I should mention, just to sort of clarify, when Cammy says that sort of skite his guitar away, it's true, because there's a lot of folk that don't believe me, but trust me, in the dial-in, I remember a lunchtime gig, it was Best Years of My Youth, the song that we just played, Brian Coyle unfortunately made a few bum notes, and this guitar came flying towards me, and I thought I could have nicked it, but it came and picked it up, but it's a true story.
Bad-tempered youth.
Yeah. That's allowed.
That's allowed, I know.
And just going back age-wise, so when you were at the height, the Dolphins, you must have been young.
25, I think.
25?
Yeah. 25. From, 1980, Dolphins started in 1980, so I'd be 23 then, to 25, 26. And then the David Forbes band went towards 28, and then the towel got thrown in.
And there's been a sort of change, and whether it's been natural or just a sort of conscious decision, because the Dolphins, they were really sort of rocky, grungy, aggressive, sort of when they first started, certainly when I remember sort of seeing, but there seemed to be a sort of conscious decision to get more poppy and sort of stuff like that.
That changed when Davey Edgar left, and a guy called Harry Denmark came in, and he had a better pop sensibility, and keyboards were changing. We bought a Prophet 5 keyboard, which was very 80s, and we got that kind of brass type sound, Van Halen type noise that they used in Jump, same kind of thing, and it just changed the writing a wee bit, became more commercial, shorter songs, poppier songs. Simmons electronic drum kit, it seemed to be the thing at the time, and that's where it went. It basically went from that. It wasn't a conscious decision, it just kind of happened. We got more fashion conscious. Wearing bright gear, mate. Wear bright gear.
Yeah, let's not go there. Right, okay, the next song we'll play is a song called Me and No One Else.
Yeah, which has that Prophet 5 keyboard right at the start.
So is there a wee story behind that?
No, just a riff I came up with when I had the keyboard down where we were rehearsing in the afternoon. I just plugged it in, hit some B flat, hit a couple of B flat notes, then the syncopated bam 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 came up, and then the song just went from there.
Superb.
Yeah, simple things start.
And you kept in the set for long enough, didn't you?
Oh,
I'm sure you played that in the Tiger Tim show.
Yeah.
You should plug that.
No, that was tonight. Tonight we played on that. Was it? On the Untentionally show, which is a sister song to that, really. Same kind of sounds on it.
Right, okay.
I've got a few sister songs.
This is the song that Cam was just going dum 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 to there. Me and No One Else.
I don't mind. In the spotlight, my eyes are filling. But see, pictures of me standing alone, slowing along with the story to tell about me and no one else. All the faces that stuff inside, some secrets that I can share. If I could fly, fly, do not die, I'd be alone. All my heartaches to love, all the stories of shame about me and no one else.
That was the Dolphins with Me and No One Else. So I'm just going to talk about sort of the band did start to implode a wee bit sort of near that time or just after that time.
Yeah.
What was the reason for that?
Down to songwriting. Brian and I wrote a lot of stuff together, but we wrote a lot of stuff separately. We got record company interest, and Rondor came up to see us and asked who wrote this song, who wrote that song, who wrote this song. So they picked, for some reason, they picked all my songs, Let's Stay, Me and No One Else, stuff like that. And I think Brian got the hump a wee bit. They really should have signed both of us as a songwriting team, because they would have got him, they would have got me, and the combination of both of us. And that was really the demise. I think the demise of the band.
Did you know of any influence where you could have sort of said, like, you know, we're a band, we're a team, or whatever?
To a certain extent, but you don't want to mess them off. And they just got, well, we can go to somebody else, you know, if you're going to be stroppy about it. So you don't, basically, most musicians will be the same. There's the wee carrot, give me it, I want it. And you can't help yourself. That's what you're there to write songs, and you want people to hear them. So you just don't want to mess it.
So where did it take you then? I mean, we'll get to Stay later on, you know, because that is, to me, one of your best songs ever.
Yeah.
We'll play that at the end. So where did you get any sort of publishing? Was it just the publishing? You didn't get any contracts?
Well, the publishing deal was with Rondor for 20 songs a year for 3 years, and they would try and get a record deal. They put us in touch with Geffen Records, of all people. So we went to America. Well, I did, and that was another thing. The band, you couldn't take a full band to America; it was too expensive. Yeah. So I had to be I went with the management team to America, and they said, okay, let's sit down. And I remember being in a boardroom, and there's all the A&R guys. There's 4 of them, and they all had their projects for this year. So 2 of them were dead certs; they were taken up, and it was us in a band called Wang Chung. There's history for you, you know. This is the guy said that was representing us. This is what I'm doing here. This is what we're doing. And they said this guy's got Wang Chung. And at that point, he says there's a chance that Wang Chung will got a movie. I think it was a song in the Breakfast Club or something. A movie like that. They had one of their songs in it. So there you go, second prize again, and that was it. Came back home and then tried to tell that to the guys in the band. Everybody was deflated. You know, I still had the publishing deal. If they'd got a record deal, they wouldn't have minded. But because I had the publishing deal, and I was still writing away, and I might have a future, but they didn't like that. They just kind of threw the dummy out the pram. It's a shame.
Did your songs ever get recorded by anybody else?
No.
Because,
not
I mean,
one.
that's where a publishing deal would go into, you know.
Yeah, but they were so convinced that the way the band looked at the time, got us a deal. And to get to around a table with Geffen at that time was good. Yeah. It was big, and we were so. And there was rumours of Stay getting recorded by Barry Manilow, of all people, and Too Late getting rumours. You know, they were taking it to Air Supply. Didn't happen again. You know, great stories, and I think that, makes you a bitter person. You know, if you've been successful, be saying, "Well, I've got this money in the bank," and some of these stories are great. That just so far, but not enough. You know, no big cigar, and that's been a lot, not just my life, but a lot of Henry Gorman, people, mega talented guy. We've all been through it, you know, and you just make what you can of it. You know what I mean? You just get on. You know?
I always saw you and Henry as being the 2 sort of main rivals.
Yeah.
Rivals is not the right word.
No,
but,
we're totally different kinds of music.
Yeah, but they were sort of
and he was better than
bands. Me. I don't know.
I held Henry up there. Just stunning player, great writer, a great band as well.
I'm sure he holds you up there.
Good mates. As a songwriter,
yeah,
as you get older, you appreciate what other people do.
Yeah,
you really appreciate what other people do.
Yeah. And, you know, it must really sort of bug you when you see sort of folk who just have this overnight success, you know, just in sort of
Well,
X Factor or whatever. It's just, it's bonkers.
That's exactly what it is, Tom, overnight, you know? I mean, it's like, somebody said to me, can you remember who won the first Big Brother? And you remember that guy Craig? Who won the last one? No idea.
Yeah.
People don't care anymore. Who won the last X Factor? No idea. Was it a dog? I don't know. Might have been. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Could have been a dog.
It could have been, I don't know. It might well have been.
Back to music. Next song we're going to play is Haley.
Yeah.
And as I say, I think it's got a cracking hook to it, you know, just a great sort of memorable sort of line, great pop song.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's one of your best sort of pop songs. And even my brother, who I said before, right into blues, old traditional blues, he still thinks this song's absolutely brilliant, you know, and he went to see a few times as well, you know, so
that's
it's
cool. Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. So, do you want to introduce it before I play it?
Yeah, this is the song Haley, and it's my fixation from the actress Hayley Mills. So there you go.
Change when you tattoo the sky. I know what you mean. The tables good looks, Valentino's the cute guy. I know what you're saying. You're working in a factory, and I don't know how you get it. I wanna hear you marry me. If you do that, pick up the phone. Stop trying your eyes to the lip of the shoulder. I know how you're feeling. Feel that you've lost to the summer that's burned July. I know what you're saying. These midnight shows from Hollywood, and I wanna make your heart mine. I can only say I'll do you good. If you're watching, I'll turn out the light. So, Haley, don't break these rules for me like you're doing again. And Haley, don't dry your eyes for me like you're doing again. Doing again. Just sweet 16. Raise out the face, stare at the light, brings you into the dark night. A place to disgrace, you're living at an eternity where the loose silly could dawn. I wanna say you stay the day when I stood up to watch you gone. So Haley, don't break these rules for me like you're doing again. And Haley, don't dry your eyes for me like you're doing again. Like you're doing again.
That was the Dolphins with a brilliant song called Haley. And I'm just looking at the window just now, up towards Bathgate Hills, and it's an absolutely glorious day, so hopefully that's got you in the mood for it. So, as Cammy was saying, that's what Haley Mills.
Haley Mills, yeah. Aye. As a young boy watching on the thing, because she was a wee blonde thing.
Do you know there's folk here that probably don't know who Haley Mills is?
No, they don't.
She's an actress.
An actress, yeah. Actress.
Was she good?
Oh, she was lovely.
That's a song with yourself again.
Yes, yeah.
There's a wee bit. I almost think the intro is almost like the Sex Pistols. Sort of that sort of bit. No, just the guitar intro.
Yeah, it's just a kind of 3-note thing through a chord. Yeah.
So.
There's probably a Beatles song down that's quite similar to that, I think. Yeah. Right. Not deliberately ripped off, but
anything behind it? No, it's just a great wee pop song.
Yeah, nothing at all. Tonight is your lucky night.
Thank you, baby.
You're welcome.
Sorry, that's going to get taken off here. Deleted. So I'll go straight into Tonight. Because it's a cracking wee song, and you played that in Untied Shoelaces.
We did, yeah.
Was that
live as well? We're the only band to do that show live.
Really?
All the other bands recorded it and went in, and we said no, we want to play live. That's
what sort of experience was that? Sort of getting in and sort of playing in front of.
Well, 10:30 in the morning, it was a bit difficult, and the crowd were just like wee kids and stuff like that, so it didn't matter. But it was exposure on TV, and playing live. You think, oh, we make a mistake. But people would forget it the next day anyway. It doesn't really matter.
Again, going back then, just sort of thinking, did you have the opportunity to actually, you probably didn't have CDs at the time, but did you have any chance to sort of go and sort of sell some merchandise, T-shirts?
Nothing. Well, I've still got a few Dolphins T-shirts, but the very capped sleeve ones, so I don't know if they're very fashionable today. I don't know if I would get into one of them, but I've got an Underhand Jones T-shirt as well. I keep them in a wee drawer, all the different T-shirts. But I think we just basically made T-shirts and gave them away. It was just to promote the band, really.
One thing I need to ask is, because Alan Barrow slap me if I don't, is where's the sort of DVD for the Ivory Black show?
Well, it's my brother Keith, or Ski, he's known as, has not mixed it down. He's not mixed it down.
There you go, Alan.
That's it, Alan. That's it. Blame him. You'll find him on Facebook.
Is it going to happen?
Eventually it will, yeah. Eventually.
This year?
I don't know. It's been 3 years since the gig, so...
Exactly.
It's like a Pink Floyd album waiting to come.
Even just saying 3 years, that's incredible.
I know, since 2012.
That's scary.
It is scary, yeah.
And I should say it was a sort of a reform sort of gig. Did 2 gigs.
Yeah.
Who was the band you supported at the O2?
Then Jericho.
Yeah.
So
that was a gig, 2012 I think it was.
September 2012. And
then the following year.
No, December 2012.
Right.
It was within about 3 months of each other, the 2 gigs were.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Then it was Ivory Blacks.
Ivory Blacks the second time, yeah.
And that was with Styx. He came back on board, he was playing guitar for the first time.
He played bass with the David Ford band and then played guitar that night.
That was a superb night.
It was a good night, I enjoyed that. That was like the old Dolphins gig in the back. The one with the Jericho, we had a slot, we had to play 40 minutes out because we were support, but even though we brought the majority of the crowd.
So the place emptied as soon as
I know
we left after that. So this song, again from the Dolphins, song called Tonight.
Slow down,
I'm a Plymouth dealer, a dealing man. And right now I'm giving the best deal ever on that new Plymouth Barracuda.
Hey, man, the name of the Plymouth Fastback is the Barracuda.
I can't pronounce Barracuda.
Yeah, well, look, man, try this. Say back.
Ba,
Raw.
ra,
Coo.
coo,
Da.
da,
Now put it all together.
baba, ra, ra, cuckoo, da, da.
Well, it ain't Barracuda, man, but I think we got a hit record.
Yeah, I know, it's cheesy, but I like it. You just heard the Dolphins with a song called Tonight. You're listening to Regal Radio. In the studio today, I've got Cammy Forbes, who, as we've said, he's been the front man for Underhand Jones, Dolphins, and David Forbes Band. So we're just sort of chatting away about sort of everything and nothing, basically. So really, we've covered sort of Underhand Jones, we've covered the Dolphins. I'm going to move on to David Forbes Band.
Yeah.
What actually caused you to actually just end the Dolphins?
It's just animosity between myself and the other four guys at the time because of the record company interest and the publishing deal, and it just disintegrated. They stayed together as a unit of four people, and it took them about a year and a half to get another vocalist. But they had to find original songs. They had to write I could still use my songs, so I started David Forbes Band. I could use Dolphins material, and so I could get on the road quicker. But it took me 3 months to get a full band together. People came, as soon as I advertised, it was instant,
Just your name is so high profile.
Not quite. I think, when Styx or Scott joined the band, he came for his audition as a bass player, and he can play guitar and keyboards, drums, a lot, very great ability. And he said, I just want to be a bass player. And I said, what song do you want to play? He says, anyone, pick anyone. And we picked something real obscure, and you knew it. He'd been coming a lot of gigs and learned everything. So if you get somebody like that who wants to be in your band, just take it. Brian McNeil, fantastic classically trained keyboard player, came in. Just a genius of a player, fantastic player. There's a song called Let the Reasons Be Known that's got a synth solo on it, and he played it and then he tripled it in harmony with himself instantly in one take. And then he was stolen from me to go to join China Crisis because he was that good. Sad again, but that's the way it works. And then after that, Robert McGinley came in, another great keyboard player. Davey Edgar came back, played drums, and Eddie Walton from the David Forbes Band came back. And I guess that was it, really, yeah.
That's superb.
And
you made lots of great songs since then as well.
Yeah, David Forbes Band was slightly more rockier, a cross between Underhand Jones and the Dolphins. Still with a wee pop sensibility. But
How long did they last then?
It lasted quite long. It lasted from about late 83 when the Dolphins split up to about August 85.
And that's when you threw your sort of shiny suits period as well, didn't you? You started wearing shiny suits and t-shirts.
Sartorial eloquence.
That was weird.
I don't know why. That was called the vinegar suit because it never got washed. So I used to pick it up and go, oh, that needs a wash. It's going on. It's stage. It's rock and roll. Who cares? Put it on. It could walk on the stage on its own and end up.
It probably did.
It really did.
And they never missed you.
No, it never missed me.
Right, there's a few songs I'm going to play through the DFB band. It's there's a sort of crossover between David Forbes Band sort of finishing and then you sort of doing stuff almost like yourself, but still class it as David Forbes Band.
Yeah, that was the name. Yeah, that was I recorded a lot of stuff after the David Forbes Band split up. I sold all the live stuff, the PA and stuff like that. Bought an 8-track studio, and so I'm just going to throw these songs at, because I've got interest from publishers. I'm just going to throw them at publishers. So I just recorded, and it was quite difficult because it was reel to reel. so while recording it. So if you messed it up, you messed up the first track as well. So it made you a decent player, and it made you get everything perfect, you know. So that was an education in itself.
So what shall we go with? Shall we go with Pessimistic?
Pessimistic, yeah.
Is that a good?
That's a good enough one, yeah.
It's a mystery on summer's day. You rising open, you turn and walk away. You're pessimistic, oh, you don't need nothing no more. You rising open through the closing door. Condescending, everything I say. You never listen to anything I've got to share. You're pessimistic, oh, you don't need no one no more. You're rising open through the closing door.
That was Pessimistic by David Forbes. And as I said, it was a sort of transition period between David Forbes' band and Cammy actually doing. In fact, I should explain that David's his middle name.
Yeah,
so it's actually Campbell David Forbes, just to sort of avoid any confusion. A song called Pessimistic, and I think you were saying you just recorded that, everything was yourself?
Everything myself, yeah. Sold all the live gear, I think, at the time, and bought an 8-track Fostex, a drum machine, and just played everything myself. It just felt right at the time. Send it off to, because I'd had enough of the live thing, I'll send it off to publishers, record companies, stuff like that. And it was a great learning curve, because it was, you know, if you make a mistake, it was split sound on sound, so you're recording so many tracks, you maybe recorded about 4 tracks, and then you're adding something else as you're recording another one over. And if you make a mistake, you got to start again. So it happened a couple of times, but you know, it just makes you sharp. It makes you sharp. It makes you a far better player. So that's what happened there, and I get nothing back from the record company again.
Unfortunately. And do you know what's just came to my mind? Your bus.
Oh, the bus.
I mean, I should just sort of point out to folk that don't know, the Dolphins used to have a bus, this big single-decker thing, massive, and they used just to abandon it anywhere in sort of West End of Glasgow, South End.
I used to go round to the chip shop, innit?
Really? Just to get chips?
I can't be bothered walking, so just drive this bus round the Victoria Road.
But what's the story? Because you've got a mannequin
Yeah.
that used to actually just put the bus...
Sat in the front seat, front window seat, yeah, to stop people breaking in. They think the bus was occupied. He had a hat and he had a stick-on cigarette as well.
Is that the true story?
That's
Or was
the
there
tru-
something
no, that is
more
a-
sinister
no, that's
behind
a-
it? You
no,
know, it's,
nobody interfered with the mannequin. He was fine. He was fine.
did the mannequin interfere with you guys now?
We tried many a time. Never happened.
Sorry, this is going in the wrong direction.
It's a bit surreal.
Anyway, back to music.
Yeah.
So, David Forbes band. We're getting to the closer when you actually decided just to sort of pack it in. I mean, you gave up the whole music industry.
Yeah.
I know you've still got Hyper PA.
Yeah.
It's your own company.
The sound company, yeah.
You're
I'm a
sound engineer.
freelance sound engineer, yeah.
It's with you and your brother Ski.
Yeah.
So, and I take it you're kept busy with that. So
That's okay, yeah. But I'm getting older now that I just don't want to look at another mixing desk. I just want to enjoy life.
you don't want to be that skeleton.
No, I don't. Like the skeleton on my Facebook page, I've had enough of them. You know, as you know yourself, Tom, as you get older, you just want to do things that you like. You know, and music used to be a thing that I liked, but it can't. As I was saying to Mike Kelly, was in before. Why did you give up? I don't know. Something just whatever installed me to be a musician just was taken away very quickly, and I can't explain that to people. I'm just not interested anymore. It's odd. I love listening to this stuff, and I think, oh, that was great, it's great. But to actually go and do it again, no, I can't. It seems criminal. You know, when you've got somebody's given you, or you've been given an ability to do something and you don't use it anymore. It just seems wrong.
So when did you give up?
I gave up live performance. In fact, I was telling to you earlier that the last live gig that David Forbes band did was the Regal Cinema in Bathgate, which is the building we're in now. And Mike Kelly put the gig on.
So it's Mike's fault.
It's Mike's fault, definitely.
Right, okay.
He put
If you're listening,
I think
Mike.
that must have been about August 85, and we had a gig the next day in Shadows. And I turned up at Shadows and we were going to unload the bus. I did a lot of lifting and doing everything because it was my baby, and I just was knackered, I was tired, I was fed up, no enthusiasm. And I said to the guys, I can't do this anymore. And they said, oh, come on, Cammy, you know, they didn't think it would come from me, but that was it. And then I went into the recording side and did that for a while. Moved down to London in 86, 87. Met up with a few guys, a band called Mad Hatter from Stoke. Brilliant guys. We played in a band together for a while. Didn't half their songs, half mine. But that never worked out either. I got signed to Braun's Records for a while. Richard Braun was looking after me, who's Jerry Braun, who did Girl School, Uriah Heep, Osibisa. He was looking after me. And due to his Braun's business interest, he put money into computers at that early stage of computers. His business went bust because they went different format, and Bill Gates is a multi-billionaire. It could have been the other way around. So that was it. Get out of Dodge, get out of London, had enough. Stayed in a squat for a while. No, coming back home, ET phone home, came back up the road, and then I started a PA company. So it's kind of sad, but it was fun. You know, I met a lot of nice people during the musical career. I met a lot of lovely people.
It could have went either way.
It could have.
You know what I mean?
I might have been an arrogant rock star sitting at a swimming pool in Los Angeles. Nah, I doubt it.
A big sort of poodle haircut.
I had the poodle haircut.
No, but really, you've written so many great songs.
Well, I'm glad you think so.
Oh no, it's not just myself that thinks it. You know, there's
Yeah.
a lot of guys, girls out there that actually think the music you've written is brilliant.
Yeah.
And I've said before, it should be a pension for you. There's so many brilliant songs there.
Yeah.
It's where do you want to go song wise? It's because we can.
What have you got
we've
there?
still got so many.
Have you got Let the Reasons Been On there? Because there's a funny story behind that.
Well, if you can tell me the funny story.
Well, I'll tell you the story.
I'll see if I can
It's,
sort of find it.
Wrote this song about the guitarist in the band Eddie Walton, about his divorce. So he played the song for a year and I had no idea what the song was about. Oh, I really like that song, that's really good. But he didn't know, and I never ever told him, so he never knew. He never knew. So, and this has got Brian McNeil on it, playing keyboards. a nice keyboard solo in the middle, and he went in and apart from just playing the lead line, he just harmonised with himself twice. So a 3-part harmony solo, quite fast, and I was very impressed with that. So impressed that the word got out and he got pinched to go and join China Crisis. Again, another nail in my head from.
Is he still gigging with China Crisis?
No, he's not. No, I don't. But I think he was working in Savant Studios last time, producing stuff. Mega player, fantastic player.
There you go. That's the intro to Let the Reasons Be Known. So
Eddie's still well, maybe know now.
if Eddie's listening, this is about you, mate.
Don't you go down, stand on solid ground that always grows. Never had a bad time in your life, fighting for a reason you was more than right. But time and tide change. Try to make a change. Won't you ask mine? Never had the courage to stand up and fight. Never had the sense to know what's wrong, what's right. All you did was fly away.
Everybody's voting for the friendly voice of radio, the people's choice. Music, weather, sports, and news, it's radio. The people choose. Everybody's swinging to the swinging voice of radio, the people's choice. Big fry, small fry, dawn to dawn, it's radio that turns them on. Swinging, singing, a million sounds you wanna hear. Radio, the people's choice. East Coast, West Coast, in between, it's radio that makes us sing.
Hiya. You're still listening to Regal Radio with Tom Lindsay, and in the studio this morning I've had Cammy Forbes for the last hour and a half. We're running out of time now, so there's only a few songs left to play, and I think the next one I'm going to play is Towels and Razors.
Mm-hmm. I think that you got the actual live version of it, if I remember correctly. Yeah?
Yep.
There was a all singing and dancing one that was recorded in the studio, but you don't seem to have that for some
No,
reason.
I don't.
No, I'll get it to you.
Yeah. As well as the DVD that you're going to get.
Yeah.
So is it answer with solicitors, lawyers?
No,
or something?
it's not.
It's
It's about identity. You know, people spray paint their names on walls, and getting arrested for it, and then putting their hands in their future in the hand of barristers to get them off with stuff. Just people basically being delinquents. That's what it's about.
Right.
So
we've got that link back into the sort of south side of Glasgow gangs
exactly.
and things like that. You know,
Yeah, exactly. That came
about.
about from playing a gig with the Dolphins and looking at the bandstand. And I've got a picture of the Dolphins playing the bandstand. Behind it is just graffiti all over the bandstand. And it just kind of, I think, well, this is maybe an artistic place, but you don't really care about it. You've just spray painted it. You know, what do you expect from getting up? Basically, what do you expect out of your life from getting up in the morning, having a shave, and doing that? You know, if that's all you're going to do, there's got to be something better. Apply yourself better. That's what the song's about.
So
we never know that. I know it.
I know. No final question, but a question is: do you actually sort of regret giving up it?
I do now. Yeah. If I could throw myself back into the age of 28, I would probably continue it on because there was a lot more songs to come. But just at the time, I just felt miserable. You know, and with the band, it was a good band I had, and if I decided to get 6 months off, they might have gone to do other things. And then getting a band back together of really good players is difficult. It was then. It's difficult to get a really good drummer that's tight, a really good keyboard player, because I played keyboards as well, so you had to be better than me, or there was no point in having them.
But you've always been quite loyal to the sort of guys that you had, you know, because...
Yeah, I was. Aye.
Big Eddie,
I brought Eddie in.
You brought him back to David Forbes, you know, Brian Coyle, you went through sort of various... Davey Edgar's been there, you know, so...
It's good to have a familiarity with people round about you. You know that they're shooting in the same direction as you, they're not in your way, you know, so it's good to have that, somebody you can rely on, you know, that enjoys what you do. Awkward, but...
it's a shame that you never actually sort of continued it.
No, I know.
That's from a personal point of view, you know, and it's not just my view, you know. It's
quite a few people, I get told that the Bjorn Borg of the music industry in Glasgow gave up far too early. But it happens.
Good analogy. The song that I played before was Let the Reasons Be Known, and if Eddie Walton, in fact it's Eddie Walton Jr., isn't it?
Eddie Walton Jr., because his dad was a senior.
Obviously. If he's listening, that was a song about him going through his divorce. Next song we're going to play is Towels and Razors, which Cammy's just sort of told us what it's about, so enjoy this one.
Starting to spread. Faceless heroes on names on walls. Fistful of anger, starting to spread. Why do you need us? Something going on. We're hiding in corners, next to the wall. Why do you nothing at all. You're not understand about it. What do you want from towels and razors? Think about people with bars and faces. Falling in highlights with towels and razors. Think about people with bars and faces. Angel with eyes and shining at night. A passionate flame, a passionate soul. You're more than a hero, you're more than a right. She needs a desire, she needs a brightness. Why do you think there's something going on? 'Cause this place is ours, no matter what. Why do you mean we're losing it all? You're not understanding about it. What do you want from towels and razors? Think about people with bars and pieces. Falling in highlights with towels and razors. Think about people with bars and pieces. Something going on, hiding in corners, actually why we're losing it all. You're not understanding about it. What do you want from towels and razors? Think about people with nice surfaces. Falling in highlights with towels and razors. Think about people with nice surfaces.
That was Towels and Razors. I've only got time for one last song, you know, and before we actually get to the song, I think we'll just chat to Cammy about how the song came about, because it's a song that he recorded with the Scottish
National Orchestra, yeah.
Yeah. And it was great without the orchestra in the background, you know, but with it, it's even better. And at the time, I think it caused a wee bit of a hump with the guitarist Brian Coyle, because it's almost like a sort of Paul McCartney, John Lennon sort of type thing. It's Let It Be when Phil Spector came in and put strings and all that, and one of them took the hump and things. So I'll let Cammy sort of explain what the sort of situation behind that was.
He didn't know it was going to happen, so we had some extra studio time left in Savage Studios, and they've got a lovely live room for strings. And I was saying to Johnny McCallum at the time, Dave Murrican, I think the guy that scored it, he sat with me at the piano and said, how would you fancy this, and scored it. And it was, to me, it was just like flies on a, you know, I can't read music, you know, so he said, this is it, and I didn't know what it was going to sound like until they actually played it. And I was like that. I remember just getting goosebumps when they played it. I thought, this is fantastic. And I really thought, this is what I've always wanted to do. I like the way ELO used to use strings with sort of pop music and rock music, and early Bowie stuff, you know, the sort of strings and stuff like that. And I thought, this is great. But Brian hated it. He thought I'd just done it behind his back. I thought, Brian, it's, this strings, it's an orchestra, it's something that as a musician you just want to do. Oh, we fell out big time over it. And his nose was right out of joint. You know,
have you spoken to him since?
No, he doesn't speak to me. It seems silly. I tried to email him a couple of times. You know, Tommy Devlin, we both know Tommy Devlin. He gave me his email address and we were doing the Dolphins reunion. I actually sent him a nice email saying, hi, it's Cammy. we're going to do a reunion. If you're ever over, you fancy getting involved in any kind of way. No reply. And I said to Tommy, and he says, "Oh, he doesn't like you." Tommy says he doesn't like you. He just won't let it lie. And he's got to be 66 now. You know, come on, let it go. You know what I mean?
You've got to.
Let's let it go. You know, it's 35 years ago. Just leave it. You know, who cares? You know.
But this song, "Stay," it's how did that come about?
I used to have a piano in my bedroom, and I think the song's about 3.5 minutes long, and it probably took me twice as long to write it. It just kind of fell into place. And I think songwriting, people that do write, there's a monkey that sits in your back, and it just, all of a sudden, it just goes, "Here, take that," you know, and you just don't know where it came from. It just arrived. You know, just sitting there playing a chord, it's in C minor, played the chord, and I was like, okay. And then 15, 20 minutes later, it was complete. And I knew where it was going to go and what I was going to do with it. I knew there was going to be strings on it at some point.
Disgusting when you got that talent.
See, I don't think that talent, it's there. It's like, it just happened. You know what I mean?
It's just unfortunate it was never actually sort of aired to a bigger sort of audience, because it's a really beautiful song. It's a classic song, you know, and it should be your pension. You know, I've said that before, you know.
It should be, but I'm going to be sweeping the streets probably.
I doubt that very much, you know. So how's Hyper PA? It's you keeping busy with Hyper PA?
Yeah, just keep it going. As I say, I've had enough of doing sound. As soon as I get to retirement now, I won't do it anymore. Because I think doing live sound has killed my enthusiasm for listening to music in my spare time. Because it's a busman's holiday. You know, I did put in fact, I'm on holiday. I was just back from a holiday, and I was getting really progged out my head. I was listening to King Crimson and Genesis and stuff like that. So don't look at me these funny looks. Don't diss the prog. You know, the early Genesis stuff, and I found it quite refreshing actually. I haven't listened to anything for ages. You know,
see, we never actually talked about your influences, you know, but I know you're into Alice Cooper and things like that.
Alice Cooper was the first sort of major act I got into as a kid. America, the band America, also no name, you know them. Lovely 3-part harmonies and stuff. John Miles, music was my first love and all that, but there's more to him than that song, a lot more to him than that song. And you
were compared with John Miles.
I covered interviews.
I remember Sounds or Melody Maker actually sort of saying so.
Yeah.
Did you like that comparison?
I was, I did, but, you know, I didn't see it, you know. He's far better than I was.
I'm just thinking about the Alice Cooper comparison now in golf.
In golf? Well, yeah.
He's a good golfer, isn't he?
Yeah, he is a good golfer, a very good golfer.
You as good as that?
Not at all, mate. I just go for fun, you know. I'm Amri golf, left, right. That's what I do, you know.
So you walk a few extra miles?
No, definitely. I'm always tired after it. I'm thinking about one of these buggies now.
Listen, you're looking great after your holiday, you know. It's probably a young wife's helping that.
Maybe it does.
Right, I'm going to finish up with Stay. And as I say, it's an absolutely brilliant song. Sorry to Tommy Devlin that we didn't play a song for Japanese Dolphin. In fact, do you know what? Cammy can tell me, although I've not got the song here, he can tell me what the song's about.
Well, it's a documentary I saw sort of early 80s when the Japanese were slaughtering. I think it still happens around the world now, and I was disgusted. Not because there was a band called the Dolphins. I just thought, for a creature as intelligent as that, it's not bothering anybody, slaughtering them, and it was just a notion of blood everywhere. And I couldn't put it in words. I couldn't put words to express the song, so it ended up as an instrumental. Quite frantic, the instrumental. There's 3 parts to it. You know, the dolphin swimming, it was
quite powerful.
It
was good.
I believe it's only 2 minutes long.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have it here, you know. Again, it's a great sort of... And it's no things that bands were doing away back then. They weren't doing instrumentals, were they?
Not a lot, no, you know. That's maybe my prog rock influence maybe coming in. Just the odd wee bit here and there.
The Genesis stuff. As I say, I'm going to finish off with a song called Stay, which in my opinion, this is the strings version. It's one of the best songs that Campbell's ever written. So I hope you guys enjoy it as well.
Proud words that you speak, I hope you mean them well. If you do, then stay. Just another rock, it'll be alright. Far away kids in the night. Hold on tight, don't put up a fight. please, baby, try, baby, cry, and dry your own tears away. I'm happy and I pray that you'll always give it no one way to go on the weekends and the night. Wheels to face in a place where words don't seem to sound. Talking all night long, it's a bad excuse. Hope that by it now you're alone tonight. I never wanna let you go. It's easy and it shows. No, I never let you go. So please let me try, baby, cry, dry your own tears away. I'm happy and I pray that you're always gonna know the way to go on the weekends and the night. Don't you mind? Stay in my life. This one I need. Can't talk till I can send you through. 'Cause that is you. I'm alive. If that happened as you never leave, I never thought you'd run away. I never wanna let you go. It's easy and it shows. No, I cannot let you know. So please let me try, baby, cry, but dry your own tears away. I'm happy and I pray that you'll always give it someone way to go on the weekends and the night. Long way home, but the cold don't bite like it did last night, and your tears don't freeze. And I'm glad you're pleased to what way to drown all the wicked in the night. Don't seem right.
That was Stay by the Dolphins. Absolutely fantastic song. Thanks for listening this morning. You've been listening to Regal Radio with Tom Lindsay, and a special guest in the studio this morning was Cammy Forbes, and just hearing his insights into sort of his musical career, which has been absolutely fabulous, and that to me was the highlight, listening to Stay. I've probably overstayed, because it was meant to be a sort of 35 minute interview or so, but we've been here for the best part of 2 hours.
I've had a good time.
So, yeah, we have.
Had a good
It's
time.
been a good chat, so hope you've enjoyed it, Campbell.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's brilliant. And get wee Henry Gorman will do the same thing. There's a lot of people from that era.
I'll leave that to Mike Kelly.
That's
He can
Mike.
do that.
He can do that.
Next up for me is Enemies of the State. But listen, guys, thanks for listening. The last song that I played there, Stay, that was for Tommy Devlin, Alan Barr, Seamus, and my dear old wife as well. So hope you all enjoyed it. Cheers.